BLG's Bin is one of, if not the scariest top laner in the world at the moment. This guy is a walking montage reel whenever he's playing and constantly takes over games by himself even as a top laner, which has some of the lowest carry potential in competitive games. Even on one of the roles that can stand out the least, you never know when Bin is going to single-handedly crush the enemy team's hopes of winning. To this day, he continues to haunt every European fan's nightmares, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
One big shot, Bin! Can you do it? Huge! My God!
Well, we could highlight a billion things that Bin does to stand out from the rest, but in this video, we'll be zeroing in on his early laning phase. Top lane is a super snowbally role, and so setting yourself up for success early on is pivotal in carrying games. Bin's early laning is incredible, and will be teaching you some of the amazing tactics he utilizes to always come out on top. Now, what sets Bin apart from so many other top laners is his ability to get the push. As any top laner should know, having the pushing wave in top is literally everything that matters. Especially because the role is predominantly filled with melee champions, having more minions leads to a lot of advantages. You will automatically win trades with more minions. You can set up tower dives, you can crash waves to get a free recall timing, and so much more. Of course, there are differences for what top laners in professional matches play towards compared to what you're looking to do in your own games. In competitive games, you'll see much more coordinated tower dives. In solo queue, on the other hand, you'll see way more 1v1 kills. Although it is true that the end results may differ between competitive play and solo queue, there is one thing that remains the same. Nearly every situation in top lane will start with you getting control of the minion wave over your opponent. Once you've got the secure pushed in top, everything tends to fall nicely into place and winning leads will come naturally. So that's what we'll be highlighting here today, the subtle but incredible ways that Bin is able to secure the push in almost any matchup versus any other player. So let's get into it. For the first major tip we'll be covering, we'll take a look at a professional match where Bin is playing Cassante against Camille. And don't worry, everything we're going to cover can be used in almost any single matchup. Unfortunately for Bin, his teammate Shun requested a leash this game, so he'll be late to lane. Meanwhile, the enemy team's Camille got to start in lane and freely auto-attack the wave to secure her pushing lead. It's pretty much impossible to lose the push lead when you get to be in lane first. Sadly for Camille though, she's against Bin, who is about to put on a masterclass on minion manipulation. And it all happens instantly at level 1, during this trade window of about 7 seconds. Looking at this trade, you might think Bin is abusing how strong Cassante is at level 1 and focus solely on the fact that he won the trade, but that wasn't his only goal here. And you won't be able to appreciate what he just did until we break something down first. Everyone knows about minion aggro. When you try to fight your opponent, their surrounding minions begin hitting you. This can be annoying when you want to trade, but amazing players will actually use this to their advantage. The first way you can utilize creep aggro is to help your own wave win the minion war. Think about it. If the enemy wave is hitting you, it's not hitting your own wave. This will mean that your minions have a momentary damage advantage and will come out ahead in overall HP. The second way to use this is to reposition the wave in your favor. If the minions are aggroed onto you, they will obviously chase to keep dealing damage until they eventually drop aggro. You're about to see how this can come in clutch in repositioning waves to your advantage. Let's go back to the start of that trade. Camille still has control of the wave. Pay attention though to where the blue and red caster minions are at the moment. Auto number 1. They both exchange auto attacks and draw creep aggro, but Bin makes sure to immediately walk backwards and drag the casters towards him, whereas Camille did not manage to do this. Now, the second part of the trade. Bin cues Camille towards him, autos, and immediately runs away again. He gets creep aggro and drags the casters all the way over here. Let's make this easy to visualize. Here's where Camille's casters started, and here's where they ended up. They're completely out of position now and can be easily focused by Bin and his own wave. This is a super important concept. In high-level top lane matchups, it is always a super tense back and forth of both players trying to hit the wave as much as possible so they can get the push. Dragging the wave here gives Bin a much easier time to auto the wave and contest Camille's push in the long run. Up next is another auto trade, where Bin drags the wave again, whereas Camille doesn't. Notice the difference in how many minions both top laners can easily interact with. Bin can choose to hit any of these minions that are super close to him. Meanwhile, Camille has decent access to only 1 or 2 creeps. This makes it really easy for Bin to start taking control over the wave. He starts hitting the wave very aggressively, and we're about to show you just how smart of a player he actually is. As they both reach level 2, let's pause one final time at this moment. If you'll notice, both waves are fairly equal in terms of health. Neither side has the definitive advantage yet. It's also important to note that Camille has no W or passive, only her E ability. Meanwhile, Bin has his E, and his Q has a super short cooldown. This is the perfect time to trade, but think about what would happen if they exchanged autos. Camille would aggro all these minions onto her and be able to drag them towards the brush. If Bin autos, he only gets aggro from a couple of the minions, so although the trade might be decent, he'd overall come out behind in terms of pushing. So he just says, no, I won't trade with you. This is such an important moment because it highlights that Bin isn't just mechanically gifted at this game. He's also constantly playing with his head and thinking about his win condition. He knows that this wave is in a much better position for him than it was for Camille. He can freely hit it from this spot, guaranteeing the push lead. And from there, Camille has no way of fighting back and resigns herself to playing safe. So now that he has the push, Bin slowly builds up a massive wave. He's going to use this to dominate the lane so much that it forces the enemy Vi to come and bail Camille out. But Bin casually just wins the trade while wasting over 20 seconds of Vi's time. All the while, this gives his own team the confidence to make a play on bot side, knowing exactly where Vi was. So not only does Bin dominate his own lane, but he makes it easy for the rest of the map to win at the same time. And again, he did all of that despite having to leash level 1. He should not have been in control of the wave that quickly, but he's just that good at getting the push over his opponent. Now, before wrapping this section up, let's give you an extra skill cap tip. Creep aggro is definitely a tool you want to abuse to get the push lead in a lot of matchups. So whenever you auto an opponent to get aggro, you'd ideally want to land that auto without them being able to hit you back. This will make sure that their wave hits you while yours continues to DPS their wave. Luckily enough, a ton of top lane champions have auto enhancing abilities in their kits. Jack's W, Camille Q, Nasus Q, and so on. But did you know that almost every single one of these enhanced attacks will give your champion an extra 50 range on their next auto? The most basic tip with all of these abilities is to use them as an auto reset for extra damage in a trade. As an example, Darius autos into an instant W. However, if you're primarily fighting to get the push lead, then you should forget about the auto reset in some cases. Instead, try to use that extra 50 range to sneak in an auto attack on your opponent and then immediately kite away. This way, you don't give them a single moment to attack you back. You'll get creep aggro, whereas they won't, potentially giving you the advantage in the push. Bin himself abuses that enhanced auto range in a lot of matchups, so make sure you keep this in mind whenever you're trying to fight for the pushing wave. Moving on to the next big tip that we'll be covering, every top lane main knows that this role can be pretty deadly to play. A lot of champions tend to have a threatening ability that if you're hit by, you will get crushed in a trade. Urgot's Flip, Darius's Pull, Set's Stun, Gangplank Barrels, and so on. These abilities tend to be so threatening that they prevent you from walking up to contest the wave. And if you can't contest the wave, you can't push. And if you can't push, then you're not in control of the lane, so you can't get the advantages you desperately want. What Bin does better than almost any other top laner is spacing around these abilities. He consistently weaves in and out of range of his opponent's spells, baiting them to waste it. And when the spell is down, he then goes in and takes control of the wave. To highlight just how insane he is at it, we'll go to our next match where he's playing Renekton versus Jax. And once again, he's going to do it even when he has to leash, giving his opponent an unfair advantage in damaging the initial wave. Finally arriving in lane, Bin will utilize the fundamental of hitting the wave while his opponent is busy last hitting. So while Jax secures some minions, Bin walks up to cue the wave to begin fighting back for control. Now, when trying to bait abilities out of your opponents, walking in and out of their range constantly makes it pretty obvious what you're trying to do. It can definitely work, but you're more likely to have success if you can convince your opponent that you're actually making a mistake. If they know you're pretending, they might just hold their ability. The best time to be convincing is when you have to go for a last hit. This is precisely when your opponent expects you to walk up and make a mistake of trying to get the CS. Bin knows that Jax was ready to punish, so he only pretended to go for the last hit, baiting Jax's E. Now, the way you move up and space in every matchup is going to be different, but let's just highlight how insane Bin's spacing is versus Jax here. Jax's main trading pattern is preparing his E and then auto-attacking you. This is because he wants to draw creep aggro while his E is channeling. This causes it to deal substantially more damage. If Bin had auto-attacked that minion, Jax would have time to auto and keep chasing Renekton down to land his E for a nasty trade. But Bin knows that if he doesn't go for the CS, and if Jax tries to auto-attack with his E, he won't be able to catch up to release the stun on him. He's calculating his spacing based on the couple of frames where both champions stand still auto-attacking. Needless to say, it's not fair playing versus Bin. Now, with Jax E out of the way, he can move up and contest for the push. He plays it patient though. He waits for Jax to have to last hit this minion, then moves up and auto-Qs during that timing. This way, he gets creep aggro while Jax doesn't. On top of the free harass, he's also abusing the wave dragging trick we discussed before. So, Bin still has a few seconds before Jax's E is back up, but he's going to use his free time not to harass him, but mostly to focus on hitting the wave. Getting harass isn't the main concern right now. All that matters is getting the minion lead. Afterwards, he's going to find himself in the exact same situation he was just in. Jax has E up and this minion is getting low. Let's slow this down and count how many times Bin baits that he's going to last hit this minion. He turns around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different times. Now let's watch that in real time. Of course, this poor Jax gets baited thinking he could punish and wastes his E again. And now Bin is free to move up and pressure the wave, earning himself the minion advantage along with a nice trade. This is incredibly tilting for his opponent because Jax is supposed to be winning. Remember, he didn't leash. That is a massive advantage at this level of play. And he's lost it in under a minute by crumbling under Bin's pressure and fake outs. Jax is frustrated that he's getting baited all the time, so he slams his E and Q in a desperate attempt to trade. This is matchup specific, but Jax trying to trade like this is really bad. He just gets kited by Renekton's E. Bin also knows that you will level up on the third wave after 2 melee minions die. So during the trade, he kills the second melee, levels up, and chases Jax down to really punish him. From here on out, Jax is zoned off minions and the wave. He has no hope of ever contesting the push again, and so eventually concedes the lane and recalls shamefully. And just like that, another lane is easily won by this monster of a top laner. So let's be real here. You're never going to come anywhere close to Bin's mechanics, game sense, spacing, or anything else for that matter. But the fundamental skills he's using to get the push over his opponents are definitely something you can learn from and apply in your own games with a bit of practice. Whenever you tune in to one of BLG's games, make sure you watch closely to see how Bin gets the push and how he uses it to stomp his lane opponent. He's got a ton of more tricks that you can learn from. We hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.